freedom from our own government. We are much more likely to be a victim of our own government than of terrorism. You are much more likely to lose years of your lives because the FDA keeps a medicine from you than you are to be attacked by terrorists. And the courts, including the Supreme Court, by not hearing that case, said that that's okay. You're more likely to have your house taken from you by eminent domain than you are to be attacked by terrorists. And the Supreme Court has said that's okay. As long as the person who's going to get your house is going to build something that allows them to pay more taxes to the government than you can, it's okay. So the biggest threat to our freedom is our own government. And this is one of the instances in which they are asking us once again to trade freedom for security. They didn't prevent 9/11 after all that we gave them. That was truly a government failure. So why should we give them more now? More of our freedom? I don't think so. We'll just lose more freedom and be even less secure, because our true security is freedom. Freedom from government.
We'll now move on to some international issues. Dr. Phillies, how do you assess the war in Iraq at this point in time? And more importantly, where should our military operations and policies regarding that nation go from where we are right now?
The war on Iraq, from the beginning, was built on a pillar of lies. If you listened not too carefully, there was a lot of weasel wording going on in the Bush administration. You would have thought Saddam Hussein was involved with 9/11. Saddam Hussein was a close friend of that fellow bin Laden. Saddam Hussein had atomic weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons, God knows, escapees from Star Trek, whatever. That was all nonsense. He was supposed to have cruise missiles that could hit the United States. Actually, if the cruise missiles were launched from Baghdad, they couldn't reach the Iraqi border. Do you notice a slight problem with using them to attack America? Bush told us a pile of lies. He got 4,000 American soldiers killed, 1,000 private contractors killed, something like 500,000 Iraqis killed, drove 3 million Iraqis abroad to flee their own country because of the war we launched, and he wrecked the country. We should end the war on Iraq immediately. We should bring the troops home from Iraq. We should bring the bulk of our troops home from around the world. You know, Cold War is over. The Iraq War is simply a piece of it. The other wars that are left are war on Serbia. You know, that ended 10 years ago. The troops are still over there at Camp Bondsteel. We should bring all those folks home, end the war, and demobilize to something where, you know, most of the rest of the world is our friends. We need a small fraction of our current military. That's what we should do. Choose peace, and that's the libertarian message. Peace, liberty, prosperity.
Of course, the war in Iraq is a disaster. Of course, if I was president, I'll tell you why it wouldn't happen again, because I believe that we need congressional authorization for any offensive military action by the President of the United States. Not self-defense, that's a different story. If tomorrow our country is hit by missiles from China or Russia or whoever it may be, the President has got to react. Can't wait for congressional authorization. But as it states in the Constitution, you've got to get congressional authorization for acts of war that are not self-defense, offensive acts. Number two, we've got to cut foreign aid around the world. Number three, we've got to cut military bases around the world. We have to stop paying for Western Europe to defend itself, for Japan to defend itself, for South Korea to defend itself. Once again, politicians are behind the curve. It's 50 years after World War II. It's 30 years after the Cold War. It's time to bring our boys home from all of these archaic military bases. And once again, it's time to say that war in general is not a positive thing. There's been rumors on the internet that Wayne Allyn Root is pro-war. Well, my opponents love to say that. Wayne Allyn Root will defend this country to the death. Wayne Allyn Root will make sure that voters out there, mothers out there in the suburbs of this country are not scared when they go to sleep at night because a pacifist is running the country. No, I'm not a pacifist, but I will never get us in a war that is not justified, supported by Congress, and backed by popular opinion of the American people. Period. But I'll keep our children safe at night and strong. Thank you.
The war in Iraq is our nation's biggest issue. We are not going to survive as a nation economically if we are hated by most other countries. We just can't afford it. The Democrats and Republicans, the Democrats will tell you that they want to end the war in Iraq, but they don't. $100 million are going to be contributed to each campaign before the end of the year of war. Well, that's a lot of IOUs, isn't it? That's a lot of return for favors. They're going to tell you they want to get out of the war in Iraq, just like they want to tell you about a lot of things, but they don't want to get out of the war in Iraq. This is the biggest opportunity for the Libertarian Party this election, is talking about the war in Iraq. We need to be a peaceful nation. We need to bring our troops home. We need to reset our foreign policy, people. That's what we need to do in this country. We need to reset our foreign policy to let other countries know that we're serious. That we're serious about bringing peace to this world. You know, most people have the same concerns as you and I around the world. We just want to live in peace. We want to provide a decent future for our kids and hope our kids have a better opportunity than we have. People don't want to be at war. Governments want to be at war. The military-industrial complex wants to be at war. This is the message that we need to carry to the American people, and this is the biggest opportunity for the Libertarian Party, and this is the issue that we need to take to the American people, because these Democrats and Republicans don't want to end this war. They profit by it. They're feeding their campaigns accounts with it, and ladies and gentlemen, we need to end this war, and we need to be a peaceful nation, and we need to be the America that the world wants to be.
I am for the immediate withdrawal of all U.S. troops from Iraq. I would order the immediate withdrawal of not only all U.S. troops from Iraq, but all U.S. government personnel. Further, as a foreign policy, I believe in a non-interventionist foreign policy and the closing of hundreds of our military bases worldwide. We have no business using our military men and women and our resources in these parts of the world. Why is it being done? Because it's profitable for some. Because we've got fascism going on. We've got the unholy alliance between corporations and government. I'm for a free market, but not what we've got right now, which is not. We've got unjustified contracts being made. We've got weaponry being built that's obsolete as it's being built, but it certainly benefits a particular state that a senator is from, for example. That's what we have going on. We have 4,000 plus men and women dead because of Bush, and the blood is on his and his gang's hands. We have hundreds of thousands of dead Iraqi civilians who are innocent and suffering. And they want to do the same thing in Iran, is what it's looking like. It looks like everything is leading up to that. Well, I believe that American military should be used only for the defense of American soil and American waters. And that is it. And I am not a pacifist. I believe in a strong defense. We haven't had a defense in decades. We've used it for offensive purposes. It's time to change. We went into Iraq because our government told us that it had good intelligence, that there were weapons of mass destruction that were going to be used against us. Well, we found out that wasn't true. But even if there had been weapons of mass destruction, they would have had made in the USA on them, because we are the ones who funded Saddam Hussein in the first place. This is the way we run our foreign aid. We fund one dictator and tyrant to fight another dictator and tyrant that isn't in our favor at that point in time. And then we're surprised when they turn around and bite us. Well, we shouldn't be. If you feed a mad dog, you're going to get bit. You know, our young men and women are all volunteers at this point in time. They're very courageous. They have offered to lay down their lives for us. And all they ask us is that we do not put them in harm's way unnecessarily. And yet, what have we done? We've sent them to die in a Middle East Vietnam. This war cannot be won. There is nothing we can do to keep the country from being destabilized when we pull out. It is going to be a disaster, and it is largely a disaster of our own making. I think that we need to take responsibility.